we now have Ukrainska Pravda editor Sevgil Musaieva-Borovyk joining us. And
good evening.
Thank you for coming to joining us tonight to discuss. So Sevgil, thanks for joining us again. My first question is, I think a lot of people were surprised by how honest a lot of the officials were. People expected maybe people to fill it out in a way that wasn't necessarily disclosing as much wealth as they had, but for a lot of officials it seemed that the admissions were essentially tantamount to admissions of some guilt. So why, in your opinion, were the officials so honest?
So honest.
Yeah.
Of course, I think that they're afraid because a lot of anti-corruption bureaus, anti-corruption officials appeared after Revolution of Dignity in Ukraine, and I think that in this case, of course, our officials, our authorities did everything possible to destroy e-declaration, and I know how it was during last year. First of all, for members of parliament did it, then in August we had a situation where we said that, okay, maybe it will be impossible to do it. But I think 1 month ago, everybody, all authorities understood that, of course, e-declaration, it will be. So that's why we need to declare more and more, because we don't know how it how it will be for us, for example, for the next year. That's why in those declarations in this year, all officials showed everything possible.
Very good point. But it seems that a lot of Western analysts have been puzzled over this. What's the whole point of it? No official has yet resigned. No politician, despite these vast sums of cash that they seem to hold. Nobody has resigned. Should these politicians have to prove that they obtained their wealth legally? Do you think this should be part of the declaration system?
It's work for Anti-Corruption Bureau, it's work for our new agency against corruption, I mean NAZK and NABU, and I hope those agencies will do everything possible, that there will be some investigations. And of course, for Ukrainians, it's also very important now to have results for after e-declaration, because if we will have no results after this shock for all Ukrainians, because I know that all Ukrainians, me too, I'm investigator reporters during last maybe 5 years, and also was shocked for such watches, churches, and of course a lot of cash for Ukrainian politicians. And that's why we need to have a result of this investigation, and I hope that we will.
But at the same time, I mean, it's been 2.5 years since Maidan. The government hasn't put a single corrupt official in jail. I mean, how confident are you that the government will actually use this as an opportunity to really prosecute people and go after this?
And I think it's an answer all, because why they're afraid? Because they have now we have independent agencies, independent NABU, independent agency against corruption, I mean NAZK. And for a lot of officials and for members of parliament, they have no idea how it will do for them, because we have such cases, for example, against also Alexander Nishenko, I mean NABU case, and Alexander Nishenko last year, we know that he was very close to our officials, first of all for presidential administrations, and for a lot of members of parliament, they understood that there will be some investigations, and that's why I hope so.
I see, but now you've just said one of the investigative agencies. Another one, Ukraine's National Agency for Corruption Prevention, as I understand, they were designated to investigate some, corruption within the system. The head, as I understand, Natalia Korchak, has been accused of kind of mishandling the budget that she had for her agency. She essentially gave herself bonuses over the whole year, and her own people. She gave numerous bonuses, in fact. And how does
Even
this
these
look?
investigations by radio,
Yeah.
Radio
Yes,
Liberty.
by Radio Liberty, yes.
Yeah, I was also shocked by this investigation, and I think in normal country it will be investigation against head of this anti-corruption bureau, I mean NAZK. But in our country, a lot of things works like this case, because Korchak described that they have no change to pay for money for a lot of members of this NAZK, and she said that work for NAZK will be destroyed if they will not pay for money bonuses, because they used this money like a salary for other members of NAZK. But of course, it's not a good idea, because NABU and NAZK now they have a chance to change things in our country, and it's very important for those agencies to keep clear, to keep transparency. And of course, such cases, how you described this situation with Natalia Korchak, of course, it's not good for their future work, first of all.
But one common feature we saw with almost every deputy, almost every official, was that they had hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. It wasn't in bank accounts, it was just hryvnia or dollars, just literally under the mattress, or just cash amounts of the money. So, I mean, why is that? What's the benefit of just keeping the money, in a physical form?
Of course, you described that it was because of our economy is in shadow, and I understood also the words of our Prime Minister. He said that there are no chance for our bank system, and our bank system was destroyed after previous regime and after revolution in dignity. You know that there are a lot of banks closed, and of course it's one reason, and the second reason that of course there are a lot of corrupted money, and also last scandal in this year was with black accountancy of Party of Regions. It also was a cash story. And a lot of, I understood that in our politics there are a lot of cash, and for example, for votes in parliament, for important laws. I mean, when there are no enough voices for some laws. That's why, of course, I understand why there are a lot of cash, and of course we have also version that it will be cash for future, because if, for example, in next year some of officials will declare, for example, more cash because they like corrupted guys. So of course there will be a lot of cash, and that's why maybe it's also changed for some corrupted guys. They declare, for example, $1.5 million, and they and after a year, when they have declared such money, or they will. For example, buy houses or another stuff, watches. They can describe it. Of course, I got this money last year. Of course.
Yes, and these dubious purchases make a lot of people wonder. Really, for example, Petro Poroshenko, he declared over 100 companies, and he said that he's received income from that, but. He didn't specify exactly how much money that has brought him. He just declared these companies. So, do you think that some changes should be made to the e-declaration system itself, so that the public has answers to these kinds of questions?
Of course, and for presidential declarations, I also have questions, because he, for example, declared some pieces of arts, only not describing what pieces of arts he has. Just said that there are 17 items of these arts. But of course, a lot of depends from what is the name of this work, what is the author of this work, and society and Ukrainians have a question. investigations. And in the same way, of course, for such a situation with companies, because, for example, Vitaly Hromadske declared his
A range of interesting attributes, I assume.
Yeah. And he declared it in a lot of companies. And he said that I just, this is the name of company, and we don't know what is the assets of this company. Because in this company we can have, for example, villas in Europe. And how it was with Mr. Lovechkin, because he declared one of company, and this is company ownership of his main asset is a villa in Cap Vert, south of France, and we investigated this company last year.
And that was something I think Leszczenko was partly responsible for that investigation, but that also reveals another interesting point in this, is that a lot of it seemed that the politicians were only declaring things that had already been revealed. They weren't really necessarily declaring offshores or properties that people didn't already know about. It was already things that were public.
And it's very important key for investigations, for journalist investigation, because, for example, in such a way, we also took information from different partnership in different companies. Interesting story with Sevgil Musaieva-Borovyk is also because Yulia Lovechkina, his sister, declared a lot of companies, which before journalists connected with Sergei Lovechkin, but now we understood that a lot of assets owned by his sister, Yulia Lovechkina, and of course it's a conflict of interest for her.
So essentially through second, third parties.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you for joining us, Sevgil. We appreciate it, and we will be back in 1 second with our next segment.